Hello everyone! I am currently on the set of my upcoming film, The Final Night. This is the security office. It's one of the main sets we used in the film, and we actually wrapped filming here a couple weeks ago. Before I go and take all this down, I wanted to make a little video and give y'all a tour and kind of explain how this whole thing was built, because I actually think it turned out pretty well considering this was all made for a little over $100. It's also the first set I've had to make for one of my films. I mean, technically, I had a little setup for EGAD's lab in Luigi's Mansion, but that was basically just a backdrop with a table, whereas this is like an actual room. If you couldn't tell already, this is based off the security office from the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. I tried my best to make it as accurate as possible, but I did change a few things here and there due to a lack of a proper budget, but I still think it came together really well and does a great job at capturing the atmosphere as the office from the game. But anyways, let's go ahead and check it out. Here we have the full set from the back. This is probably the most recognizable angle because this is what people see when they play the game. I actually built this in my parents' garage. In fact, the only real wall is that back wall there. These other walls are just sheetrock that I've leaned on random stuff. As you can see, this one is on some boxes, and this one is leaning on a pool table. It's not the best method, or even the preferred one, but having to make frames to hold all these up would have greatly increased the budget, and it would have taken a lot of time. Neither of which I currently have, so I just had to work with this. And you know, it worked well enough. They're a little unstable, but it didn't really affect the film that much. I got these backdrops to give it the deteriorating rundown feel. They do have these creases in them, and I couldn't get them out, which kind of annoyed me. But you can't see it in the film, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, these backdrops were like the most expensive thing of this whole set. I think altogether they're like $80 or so, which is a little crazy, but it definitely made the set a lot better, so I'm not gonna complain that much. We have the checkered pattern all around the room. This is just paper that I've just glued together, nothing too fancy. We then have the two entranceways here. I just used black cloth and curtains to kind of block out the outside, so that way it's easier for me to edit. Then over here, we have the door switch and light switch. These are actually just Lego bricks I stuck together and put on this little black piece of paper. Same thing over here. You can actually see this one's starting to yellow because it's been in here for so long. These two black poster boards are the windows. Originally, I wasn't gonna have these here, and it was just gonna be a wall because, not gonna lie, these don't look that great. As you can see, they're starting to get like damaged and scratched, and they're peeling off. And yeah, it's not the best, but you know, they're a fairly important mechanic in the game, and so I had to include them somehow, and this was the best I could do with it. Here we have the back wall. We have the classic Celebrate poster. I think I got this at like a Target or a Five Below. And then we have the My Fun Day drawings. I think there's a couple more that are supposed to go up there, but I just decided to draw these 6 because these are the ones that are most visible while playing the game. And yeah, I just drew these out myself. They look pretty good, even though My Fun Day text were drawn out. Really like how those turned out. And then we have the most important part of the set, the desk. This is where most of the inaccuracies come into play, but we'll just start out up here with Carl the Cupcake. Now, this is actually a Nightmare Carl plushie. You can see he's just sitting on a piece of tape because he can't really stand up on his own. I tried to find an actual non-Nightmare Carl like plushie or figurine to put up here, but I couldn't. The Nightmare plushie was the only thing I found. So I cut out some eyes and teeth for him, and yeah, it doesn't look that bad. Over here we have the little battery meter here, so you can check your power and see how much % you have left. Then we have the monitors. This is where most of the inaccuracy comes into play. In the games, you have like a bigger monitor over here with like a little monitor on top and a couple of little monitors on the side. I tried to do that, but the little monitors were like really expensive. I think it was like $40 for one of them, and I would have needed like 6. So yeah, we weren't able to do that. I got this box TV for like $25 on Facebook Marketplace. And so originally it was just gonna be this. And my neighbor actually gave me this other TV. So I decided to have the two of them here. Because, yeah, that one's not technically accurate, but it does help with having the two monitors because in the game there was multiple different monitors. So even though it's not accurate, I still think it looks pretty good. Then we have a flashlight. Can't be night guarding without the flashlight. Then we have the actual controller for the cameras. This is actually a retro game controller. I looked into getting like an actual camera control, but the cheapest one I found was like $50, which is kind of expensive. I think this one was only like $13, and you can't really see it that much in the film, so I didn't think it was worth spending the extra like $40 or so. Then we have the little drink and food wrapper. This is a little styrofoam cup I got at the dollar store and added on the red lines. And then we have the phone. This I got off of eBay. I think it was like $15 or $16. And yeah, I really like this. I love the look it has, and it works really well for the set. And then we have the fan, probably the staple of the FNaF offices. This is just a random fan I found in my home. It's fairly like old, you can see it's like yellowing and stuff. But yeah, it fits really well. And lastly, down here, we have just a couple of speakers. It looks like one of the checkered prints fell. But yeah, just a couple of speakers there. And that'll do it for the tour. It's nothing too special, but I really like how it ended up coming out. And, you know, like I said earlier, just wrapped filming in here. And so now I'm just going to be working on taking all of this down. And, you know, it's kind of like a weird feeling, you know, because I first started building the set back in March 7th of last year. And I've spent hours and hours and hours, like, you know, designing it and building it and, like, actually filming in it. And this has been here for over a year and a half now. And it's just crazy to think that in, like, the span of a couple of weeks, it's just all gonna be gone. I had a similar feeling with Egad's Lab and Luigi's Mansion whenever I had to take that down after finishing filming there. But it's different here. I think because, you know, this is much, much bigger than Egad's Lab, and I've spent a lot more time actually working on it. But yeah, I'm really gonna miss it. I wish I could keep it here forever, but, you know, my parents need the garage, and, you know, eventually I have to move on to other projects. But yeah, this is the last day, the final night for the security office. So, thank you for coming and watching this little tour, and I'll see you next time.